Hello there. This is General Grievous, and you are watching the Cantina Club.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Club. We're going to do episode 2 of Book of Boba Fett and talk about what we thought about it, what we look forward to for episode 3. And we'll be right back after this.
We all know around here, Solo always does shots first. Singing your
dance of two.
raise your glass, and sing your no. Sing it with me, your no.
What's the name again?
At the Cantina Club.
Yeah, we saw the lyrics. What does it mean? All right, so we're here to talk about Book of Boba Fett, episode 2. So overall, what did you think? What are your initial sort of takeaway from this? What was your initial thought?
I absolutely loved it. I was delighted by it. I'm really thrilled with where this series is going. I thought it had one of the best action set piece sequences in all of the live action Star Wars stuff so far on TV.
Okay.
Yes.
Big words. All right.
So, yeah, okay. I really loved it.
Excellent. Yeah, I enjoyed it very, very much. I don't think I was as blown away as you and as Greedo were, just from my talking to him about it. But that's not to say I didn't like it. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the episode. Thought it was fantastic. Yeah, the flashbacks are great. I love getting all this sort of Star Wars lore, about the Sand People. I think that's pretty darn interesting. So. Okay, so let's go ahead and break it down. What stood out for you as kind of like your favorite part of the episode? Because obviously we're still doing the 2 timelines, of present day and then 5 years prior, when he's just getting out of the Sarlacc pit and trying to figure out, trying to nurse himself back to health and get into the Tusken Raider clan.
My favorite part was definitely the train robbery and the follow-up of the integration into the Tusken tribe. Where he earns his robes and his gaffy stick, and making of the gaffy stick, and the wonderful warrior dance at the end. And I guess I'll talk in more detail about that later, I guess, if we go through it later. But that to me was the highlight of the whole thing. It was a thrilling way to end that episode.
Right.
What about you?
I thought, as far as the flashback is concerned, my favorite part of that whole storyline was the train. It really was kind of a throwback to an Old West type of thing, where there were like the train robbers and all that kind of stuff, although even though they were trying to liberate it, basically, it still had that same feel to it, just in the Star Wars motif. But I thought it was fantastic. I loved the action. I loved the planning that went into it. It had that nice balance of humor and seriousness that you get in Star Wars when it's done right, so I really enjoyed that part of it. But so that part, and then at the end, the gaffy stick that he carved for himself, and the whole ritual at the end. First of all, them sort of putting the Tusken robes on him, and then he does the gaffy stick, and then they actually do the dance. And one thing that I thought was really interesting too is how slowly but surely throughout the course of the dance, more and more Tuskens join the dance. So by the end of them, all of them are taking part. I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, I guess, since we're talking about that is my favorite moment in the episode that just really spoke to me at the end. It also seemed like, since this is a story about him helping the indigenous people there of Tatooine stand up against the Pike Syndicate that's trying to run spice through their lands. I really loved the fact that warrior dance at the end was kind of a tribute to Tamira Morrison's own indigenous Maori heritage, with the warrior dances. And it
Mhm.
was just it was such a moving way to end the episode when it's almost like we were talking about the last episode review. Greedo mentioned that he thought maybe further flashbacks with the Tusken Raiders would give us a sense of the evolution of Boba Fett from the bounty hunter who's more concerned with individual greed
Mhm.
and doing whatever he has to do to satisfy his individual ambition to
Right.
his connection with honor and leadership and community,
Mhm.
because obviously that's what he's trying to do in taking the role of the daimyo,
Right.
and taking over Jabba's territory and ruling a different way. Where did those values of honor and respect come from? And I felt like that final scene where he was dancing with the Tuscans just showed how his fierceness was then wedded to that sense of honor
Mhm.
and a sense of respect for community that is going to give him a good leadership foundation. How he's going to use that to take over the Jabba's crime syndicate. I guess
Right.
we're going to have to see. So
Well, that's kind of the unknown right now.
yeah,
Is A, what are his motivations? B, what type of character is he going to truly turn out to be? And I think there's a few different ways it can go. And I mean, if you don't mind, we can talk about some potentials here. I got a couple of ideas that I've been kind of mulling over that I think that one of my gut instincts is telling me that maybe he clearly looks to me anyway like he's planning on sticking around with the Tuscans for a while. He doesn't look like he's like, okay, I'm good, I'm out. It looks like
yeah,
he's accepting the fact that he's in the tribe now. So maybe he does just join in with them, and who knows, maybe he's there for 3 or 4 years, or basically for that whole period of time, and perhaps something tragic happens to that group. Maybe the Pike Syndicate finally gets sick and tired of paying this toll, that he makes them pay after a few years, and they end up coming up and they go to war with him, and they end up wiping out most of his tribe. And maybe that's why the idea I had was that maybe that's the motivation for why he wants to become a crime lord, as it were, to take over Jabba's territory. So basically he can become a part of that world to take down the Pikes.
yeah.
That's
And you were already seeing that in the scene where he actually sat on the crates and
Mhm.
confronted them and made a deal,
Yeah.
and made you have to pay a toll.
Right.
And so he was becoming a crime lord rather than a bounty hunter.
Right.
And I think that that
It's literally a protection racket,
yeah, it
You
was
know?
it was real interesting at the beginning when he confronted the mayor of Mos Espa,
Yeah.
and he brought the assassin to the mayor,
Mhm.
and he had brought him there to threaten the mayor. You hired this assassin. The mayor says, no, I didn't, but thank you
Mhm.
for bringing him in. He's a criminal. I'll pay you the bounty. And he said very distinctly, I am not a bounty hunter.
Right.
And that line really shocked me, and I
Mhm.
think that the end of the episode showed that he had transitioned beyond that to where he's a leader in a different way.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think maybe that going forward, I agree with you. Maybe it's going to have something to do with what happens to the Tuscans. He seemed like he was so close to their culture. Why is he going to try to take over Jabba's syndicate?
Exactly.
Why did he leave them?
Right. We haven't gotten to that point yet. Obviously, there's got to be something that's going to motivate him to change what he's doing now to get him to want to take over Jabba's territory from Bib Fortuna and go forward with that, because that's obviously completely a 90-degree from what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something that motivates that, and we just don't know what that is yet. Could be something tragic, or perhaps I don't know. Maybe he does ultimately want to just become part of that world for reasons, again, unknown. And he's keeping, the Tuscans as like his ace in the hole, as it were. They're going to come out to his rescue whenever he needs it. Like whenever the chips are down, boom, there comes this army of Tuscans, who knows? But because obviously the Tuscans are pariahs, basically, as far as Tatooine is concerned. They're literally the most, they're probably not considered, I guess, as low as like Jawas and and droids, but they are, but they're probably the next lowest, social, level on Tatooine. People just, automatically just discount them as savages and, loners and savages, basically.
And they are not just his allies now. He is one of them, so I think that they would back him, if he needed help in the future. So I think even if we don't get a whole lot more like a tragic loss of them in a flashback, we're probably going to see them in the present time, showing up in the present timeline in the future at some point.
Yeah, that should be interesting, I think. So let's talk about the intro section of the episode, I guess, the current present day, as it were. You know, obviously this episode was real flashback heavy, whereas the last episode kind of went back and forth. This one, it was like basically we got like the first 10 minutes or so of present day, and then the other, you know, 35-40 minutes was all flashback. I really am enjoying the present day stuff. I love seeing him interact with these denizens of Tatooine, you know, the mayor and the citizenry and stuff like that. I'm really, I guess that's the one thing I'm saying when I mean that I wasn't as blown away, because I think I'm a little bit more in love with that storyline than I am the flashbacks at this point. Again, they're both great. I just, for some reason, I'm kind of like, you know, when they go away from it, like, I just want to see more of that. You know, I'm just kind of in that mindset right now. Again, not taking anything away from the flashbacks, but I love the whole, like you kind of already talked about it, the conversation he had with the mayor, the way they shot, you know, the assassin dead, just with no words spoken, just bang, you know. And of course that got the tense situation going with everybody with their guns out, you know. I love that.
By the way, was voiced by Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, it was. And also, by the way, I'm not sure if he actually played the role or just voiced it, but last episode he was the Trandoshan.
Yeah, who gave the tribute at the beginning. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, so then from there, from the scene with the mayor, you know, he gets his tribute, and like you know, again, in true crime lord style, you know, he had that very cryptic message of, you know, I will take, you know, you basically serve as long as I will it, you know, I'm allowing you to serve, is basically, that's, you know, in such true crime lord fashion, you know, he says that. And then of course he takes the money that he was paying for bringing him, you know, the bounty, you know, when he said, you know, I'm not a bounty hunter, he said, I'll just take this as the tribute you should have brought to me, you know, already. And basically we'll call it even, you know. And so from there he gets, you know, the message that he needs to go to, and I forget the name of the character in the place, but the other Cantina
played by Jennifer Beals.
Exactly. So they go over there.
Before we go to that, let me ask you one thing about that scene with the mayor. If the mayor claims that first of all, the assassin seems to have lied when they threw him in the Rancor pit, you know, and he said, okay, it's the mayor hired me. And I love how the Rancor just like got this.
Oh, right. Yeah. Let's actually talk about that a little bit. Yeah. The Rancor turned out to be a rat.
the Rancor has an incredible reputation to where top-notch assassins who will not give up information when they're about to have their throats cut will speak as soon as they think a Rancor is going to tear them apart.
Yeah, they'll
but he lied. He lied though. He lied. So,
right. Yeah. Exactly.
The mayor said when it wasn't true. Exactly. I'm glad to have had the reference to the Rancor though, and I liked seeing Fennec Shand and Boba Fett looking down through the down into the pit.
That was a great scene. But yeah, that was interesting. I love the way they filmed it, just the door coming up, but it was very, very throwback-ish, you know. You couldn't help but have visions of Return of the Jedi, and that whole scene and everything was really, really interesting and really cool.
Even when Fennec Shand escorted him into Jabba's palace, manacled, you know, like Princess Leia disguised as a bounty hunter, bringing
right at the beginning that was
Chewbacca great. In. But he lied. Okay, so that takes us to the scene with the mayor. The mayor says, no, I did not hire the Nightwind assassins to take you out. You need to start thinking about who did. So who do you think did? Do you think maybe it's the Pike Syndicate? Since he is starting to encroach on their business?
No, I think it's the Hutts.
Oh, okay. Because next we go to the Hutt twins.
Right.
Arriving
well, of course, first he goes to the Cantina or whatever the place is, basically the house of, you know, ill repute, as it were. And you know, and clearly she's Jennifer Beals' character is clearly, you know, taken aback by his sudden appearance, you know, by Boba's sudden appearance. And, you know, he even made a comment about how you're sweating like a something on Mustafar or whatever, you know, and that she was acting very nervous and agitated, and as they're talking, suddenly we hear this drum beat, you know, coming from somewhere, and everybody stops, including Max Rebo, you know, the band, everybody just stops, you know, and because they know what this means. So of course, you know, Boba and Fennec go outside, and we get this amazing shot. I mean, it literally was like my favorite shot in the entire episode of this little giant litter being, you know, carried by all of these Twi'leks, you know, with two, not one, but two Hutts.
Two twins.
And they call them the twins, the brother and sister, riding on top of it. And I have to say, my favorite moment of all of this was how he was using the rodent as like a sponge to sop up the sweat.
Poor rodent squiggly and trying to get away.
Yeah,
And he's
it's
just
wiggling,
going,
making these faces.
I'm sweating a little bit, you know, give me a second.
That was so perfect.
Oh, the rodent, by the way, I read online is from the Star Wars, it's a species from the Star Wars comic books from the 1980s. It evidently appeared in many comic books of the 1980s. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
But they even had a storyline about that species' homeworld in the 1980 comic
Of course
book.
they do. Only Star Wars will produce an entire, you know,
about a rodent
based on a
homeworld.
rodent. That's so funny.
But before you go on beyond
Yeah.
the Hutts, were you disturbed by the incestuous connotations of that scene? It
That
was
was
like
gross.
incestuous slugs. It was just so, it was the height of slug disgust. You know, how disgusting the Hutts are in the Star Wars universe. They come riding in on a litter intertwined together right after Boba Fett has said that they can't be here. They're too preoccupied with participating in the debaucheries of their homeworld. And then
the homeworld, of Nal Hutta, and then suddenly they show up there all intertwined on the litter.
A review I read online, the critics said that they were the Hutt version of the Lannister twins. And I was like,
that's good. That's actually very accurate.
Feeling. And even down to the sister giving the orders, you know, the sister was the one speaking behind her fan. She would give orders, and then the brother would deliver her edicts to the multitude.
Exactly.
While she's hiding behind her fan.
Yeah, and I love that dialogue too. It was really well done too. You know, it's like, well, my sister is less forgiving than I am. She thinks I should just kill you now. You know?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Just be done with it.
She's the brutal one. Yeah, it did remind me of the Lannisters. I think he's just the hapless brother pawn.
Right.
She's the one who's really maneuvering things. Well, what about the introduction of the Wookiee? Because that's also a character from the comics.
Correct.
Are you familiar with that character? I am not.
I'm not. I've not read those. I've read some because he's appeared in the Darth Vader series, which there have been several comic series on Vader, and the Dr. Aphra series, which I've read a little bit of both, but I haven't read the sections that have Black Chrysanthemum, I think is the character's name, Black Chrysanthemum. And but I know that from the videos I've watched of people breaking this episode down who are familiar with the lore, their heads are exploding because apparently he's like this really cool character from the comics or whatever.
I did read one of the Darth Vader comics where Darth Vader hired both him, Chrysanthemum and Boba to do something. And I only read that one comic, and it did look awesome. The Darth Vader series looked incredible. I've read a few others of the Darth Vader comics, but the one that I did see had him hiring the two of them together as bounty hunters. So it seems like that character has a past with Boba Fett too, a history.
Right.
So that will be interesting where we will go with that moving forward. Because obviously the Hutts are coming back. They are not going to give up their claim.
No.
And they've got him as a strong arm for them.
Yeah.
So we'll be seeing more of him, I know.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And I mean, I just have to say that was one badass looking Wookiee. Just the look on his face and the size. That is not Chewbacca.
No, you don't want to mess with him.
Yeah, you do not want to mess with that guy. And I thought let me ask you before I tell you what I kind of heard on another video, and I didn't really think about it that way. So at the end, when the Hutts are leaving, and that look that Black Chrysanthemum gives to Boba. How did you interpret that look?
I really don't know. I thought it was more of a kind of understated threat. But I don't know enough about their history.
Right,
that's the thing. About their history.
That's the thing. I don't know about their history, but I kind of like you. I took it as just this, sort of semi-veiled threat.
Yeah.
However, again, I watched a video with people who are familiar with the lore, and apparently, he and Boba were fairly tight. So it was almost more of like they're interpreting it more of as a hey, it's just business. You know how this works.
Okay,
it's almost less like I like you. We've been buds, but if you do something that they don't like, I got to take you out. That kind of thing. Yeah.
That makes sense if they worked together extensively.
Right.
In the comic book. So now I need to go back and read those comics.
Same here. Yeah, I need to look those up and read some of those. Like I said, the Vader series issues rather that I've read are really good. And then a few of the Dr. Aphra issues I thought were really interesting as well. So okay, so that basically wraps up the present day stuff. We sort of after that, Finnick and Boba basically speak. Boba even kind of threw out there, well, maybe that settles it.
Yeah.
They're leaving. She's like, no, you know better. And he's like, yeah, I know. I don't believe that. We definitely haven't seen the last of the Hutts or their attempts on his life. So then from there, we basically get another quick back to tank scene and then into the rest of the episode, which is all the flashbacks. So what else about the flashbacks that we haven't already discussed kind of jumped out at you? What else did you kind of take from all that?
First of all, the whole story structure of using the flashbacks to present his evolution is still kind of, it's contrived and everything, and throwing him into the back to tank every time. But I think he probably needs back to tank. It sounds like he has to have regular back to tank treatments after getting out of the Sarlacc pit. So it's something that he has to go through. And the flashbacks are so good that I don't mind that contrived. I really, I know you love the present day stuff, but for me, the really strong point, the present day stuff is moving slowly at this point.
Right.
Exactly. The stuff I'm really taken by are the flashbacks that show, they give us more background on the Tuskens and show Boba's evolution into what he's going to be now in the present day. And I loved everything about the flashback, from it opening with him training with the Tusken champion, and getting his ass kicked over and over again. And by the way, that champion's played by Joanna Bennett. If you look in the credits at the end, she is incredible throughout this episode. In the attack on the train, in the training sequence.
Oh yeah, I love this character.
When they make the gaffer her body language is perfect. So she's great. She's a standout Tusken character to me.
Absolutely.
Especially in the sequences this week. And then when we get the train first make the attack on them and take down the Bantha and several Tusken Raiders, and we get Banthas go down twice in this episode. Banthas are very stubborn creatures. I mean, they're trying to move them, and they're like, "No, I'm not
going anywhere."
But boy, they go down like a stack of bricks. Whenever you shoot them, they're down instantly. Banthas. No Banthas were harmed in the making of this stuff.
Exactly, no actual Banthas were harmed.
But the train coming through, I really enjoyed when it first appeared, because I'm like, what the hell is that?
I thought it was like some big worm thing or something. I was like, what is this creature?
What is a mechanical worm? And then I began to realize, it's a take on a train. We're going to have a train sequence in this.
It's like a hover train.
Yeah. And the empathy that he felt for the Tuskens that had been shot, that had died when they had their funeral, then leading to his plan to take down the train. Okay, let's talk about the Smackdown at Tashi's station.
We cannot go there.
I loved that.
I loved it.
He sees the bikers in the distance, riding, having their joyride. He's like,
that's when he gets his
I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna
I know how to do this now.
Take those bikes. What did you make? You tell me about what your reaction was to the Tashi station sequence.
I loved it. I thought that was so cool. I mean, to see Tashi Station again, for those of you who haven't seen the deleted scenes, go watch them on YouTube right now, and that'll explain a lot about the scene that was in that episode. But yeah, that was really cool. Obviously, we can't go any farther without talking about the cameos, that we had with the two characters who were also in the deleted scenes and never made the final cut. But they're in, they're in the novelization, they're in the comics, they're,
Radio show.
Even the novelization of Last Jedi, there's a Cammy reference. And like Luke's having a dream, and Cammy's in one of the dreams that he has, when he's on
Cammy and Fixer, two of
Cammy and Fixer,
friends from his teenage days.
Right.
The ones that berated him and called him Wormy. They still haven't gotten off of Tatooine.
Nope, they're still there 5 years later.
They're still stuck at Tashi Station.
Exactly.
And Luke never got those power converters, but they're in much worse shape than him, stuck at Tashi Station for eternity.
Exactly. But I love the recreation of it, because if you look at it, it looks identical, the inside of the building. They really did a good job recreating it. But yeah, the Boba Throwdown was amazing. He just came in there. It was very reminiscent of the episode of The Mandalorian where he was just kicking all the stormtroopers' butts. This time he's just kicking all the Nikto's butts, know. and he just basically at the end, he just goes out, gets all their bikes, strings them all together, and takes them with him.
I really felt intimidated by him. I'm going to say about Tamara Morrison's performance in this episode. He's an intimidating physical presence to me. Yeah. So, and when he walks in there, and just the way he carries himself, and before he even got there, he goes to the Tusken Raiders and says, "I know what I'm going to do to stop that train. All I need is a gun and a stick." So they give him a gun and a stick, and he walks into that bar, and he doesn't even shoot the guy. He beats the crap out of him with the gun until the gun breaks.
The gun just breaks. Yeah. He's like, "Oh well, I guess I gotta
now
do this
the
now.
stick."
Now I gotta use the stick. Yeah.
And then throwing one of them through the convenient plate glass. It's like in the middle of the Tashi Station for no reason except for a Nikto to have his head rammed through the glass. It was a classic bar fight scene. It was wonderful. And Morrison did it so wonderfully.
Exactly. I mean, he's an imposing figure. I did meet him at Celebration in 2012, and got my picture with him and all that. And if I can find it, I'll put it up here on the episode. But I mean, but really, obviously, really nice guy. He was very friendly. But yeah, physically, I mean, he's a big, thick guy, but yeah, so he has definitely an intimidating presence about him for sure, especially if he's coming at you to kick your butt. I can imagine. That would be beyond
with a gun, beating it to death with a gun, with a rifle.
Exactly. So that's where he basically came up with the plan how to take down the train. He takes out the Niktos, gets all the speeder bikes, takes them back to the to the tribe, and that produces probably the funniest moment of the episode, I thought, is when he says, the leader of the tribe is like, "Here, this is my gift to you." And meanwhile, the Tuskens are starting to like take it apart, like beat on it and rip pieces off. He's like, no. He's like, "We're going to use these. We're not going to go through them and rip them apart." that was so
funny. Response.
That was so funny. And then of course we get the scene of him, teaching them how to ride, which was funny.
That was my favorite funny scene.
And I almost wonder if the Bantha line was improvised. The way it came off, it looked almost like an improvisation. He said, "Like a Bantha."
Like a Bantha.
They're like, "What? No, okay."
And learning to jump from one speeder bike to another is like, oh, Luke made it look so easy in Return of the Jedi. Right. No, this is what happens when people without the Force do it.
Exactly. This is how you do it when you're not a Jedi. But yeah, that was a really funny little scene, and it was almost like had this been an 80s movie, that would have been the montage.
The training montage.
Yeah, exactly. The Rocky montage. Rocky 3. But anyway, so yeah, so they, he gets them all prepared to ride these things, sets up a battle plan, and then they get basically we get round 2 with the train coming through, and
Another bantha goes down.
Another bantha goes down in this attack. Exactly. And the group that's on the train is, like we referred to earlier, the Pike Syndicate. And of course, my geek levels are off the chart because Pike Syndicate basically was written for the Clone Wars. So even though we saw a couple of them in Solo, so this is not their live action debut, it was neat to see them kind of extensively used in this episode. Shooting down the Tuskens and trying to protect their spice, basically. So I loved, obviously, anytime we get characters specifically written for the Clone Wars, making that transition into live action. I love that. That was really, really cool. I guess my highlight of the train sequence was the character you've been referring to, sort of Boba's trainer. The way she turned and literally just rammed her bike into the train and then used that momentum to get up there, and then she literally just went through the car, taking people out one by one, taking out the Pike Syndicate guys. And then but my favorite shot was the one where the guy who was through the porthole kind of shooting, he just goes down, and all of a sudden her head pops up.
When she got serious, It's like, okay, I'm getting aboard this train.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole sequence, this is why it's one of my favorite action set pieces of live Star Wars TV, Star Wars so far, is that it was so well choreographed, so well directed. Steph Green was the director of this episode. Right. And I read that she's directed stuff for Watchmen, the wonderful Watchmen series, Luke Cage.
I have not seen
stuff like The Preacher, Men in the High Castle, some genre.
Oh, that's TV phenomenal. Shows. Yeah, that's such a good show. Yeah.
Yes. So she did wonderful work on this episode, and that the choreography of the action, it was just heart pumping. It was exciting. It looked totally convincing too, with the speeders attacking the train. It looked real. Very little seemed like it CGI distracting,
Right.
It looked more like stuff that was more like practical effects, though it couldn't have really fully been. And so it was just so well done throughout. I loved the robot engineer. Who seemed like he was crazily suicidal to me. Like, he's like, the train's being attacked. Okay, I'm just gonna speed it up like I'm gonna wreck it.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too, because I was thinking, like, well, what is the motivation for the droid to just like jump out to his death? But then we realized it's not to his death. Because he basically he looked like almost like a little mini Grievous at that point, the way he walked, The
robot was wonderful. That's one of those little side characters thrown in that's a delight, when they work well. And just the whole sequence was great. And then leading to Boba Fett kind of claiming the crime lord role by negotiating the tribute between the Tuskens and the Pike Syndicate was really cool too.
Yeah, I love that scene, and the way the guy denied, well, what does spice even look like?
I don't even know what spice looks like. Yeah, sure.
Well, spice. Why would I be carrying spice?
You don't run the spice mines of Kessel, from which I have escaped repeatedly and been recaptured, and I have the record for recaptures. I know what's going down there. So. Yeah, and he knew too.
Gundark knows.
He knew too. He's like, okay, they're like, are you going to kill us? And he's like, well, it all depends on your answer to this question. Are you running spice? Spice? I don't know what spice is. That's the wrong answer.
What does spice look like? Yeah, that.
Wrong answer, dude.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not looking. I love that line too. It's like, it's not looking good for you.
Yeah.
I love that line. This is not looking good for you.
But again, in that scene, what's interesting is something that Greedo noted in our last review, is that Boba Fett is showing restraint. Yeah. He could have just killed them, annihilated them there, but he saw that this was also a means to gain resources for the Tusken people. Yeah, exactly. So you make a deal. So that was pretty cool too, as it seems to be forecasting where he's going with the ruling by respect rather than ruling by fear. In the present timeline.
Right. Yeah. No, it was well done. Like they're definitely taking the mafia route to this, because that's literally how it would work in the mafia. You're not just taking out your rivals, you're making a deal with them and
Yeah. You
holding them
have to
to it. We
coexist.
protect
Yeah.
you if you pay us, and then we help each other, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not just senseless killing for no reason. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to find a way to work the system, and you seem like
Right.
he's starting to do that there.
Right. Exactly.
So that leads us to him going back with the tribe, and we have the spirit quest sequence where
That's right. The spirit quest. Yeah.
they thank him for his guidance by giving him a
Mhm.
spirit guide, giving him gifts, and I love how he opens it like, oh, a lizard. Oh, okay.
What?
Thank
Thanks.
you. And then the lizard enters into his brain through his nose.
Right. Literally
And
jumps up his nose.
the funniest moment to me in the whole episode is when he's coughing and he says, I'm sorry, I think I may have swallowed it. And he's
Yeah.
apologizing to them. I think I swallowed your gift. I didn't mean to, but
Yeah, that was so funny.
best spirit quest introduction.
Yeah, best
ever.
spirit quest there. So what did you actually think of the visuals there? What did you think of all that?
I liked it because it seemed like, again, more the evolution of the character, where he finds in his vision, he goes out into the desert and finds a barren tree in the desert, and then becomes entrapped in the branches, and we get flashbacks to him being left on Camino, his dad flying away, Jango Fett flying away, as he's there with all of the waves rushing on Camino, and then he's stuck in the Sarlacc pit fighting. And so it seems like it's kind of a combination of his a record of his struggles of loss and trauma and entrapment from the time he was a kid,
being alone,
to the time to the time he's an adult, and it ends with him breaking out of the Sarlacc pit, so that the moment that we saw in the first episode now takes on new connotations. Once he breaks out, he's a new person. So it's a moment, it's not just trauma, loss, and suffering. It leads to rebirth and to new growth. And so it becomes a triumph. And he returns to the Tusken people with a branch that he pulled from that tree in order to escape, that then becomes his symbolic weapon for entrance into the tribe. I thought it was a really cool sequence.
I loved it. Yeah, the visuals were really intense, and I loved the fact that they added like the little Jawa eyes in the background, like they were watching him. That was really a creepy touch, actually.
Yeah. The whole thing kind of, I like how, like, so much of the flashbacks have taken place wordlessly, and how that sequence wordlessly conveyed, his evolution from the values that he gained from the trauma of his childhood and his adulthood into something that's developing to new qualities of leadership and strength that we see in him at the end of the episode.
Agreed. Yeah.
And then when he goes back to the Tusken people, then we have the wonderful montages where he is clad in the Tusken robes. They make the gaffy stick, and then they have the warrior dance. So you want to say anything more about that sequence?
Just that I really love that. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole flashback, was just that lore, that Star Wars lore that we've never heard about. That's what I love about what we've gotten so far in the first 2 episodes, is just the expansion of what the Tuskens really are like. And I think like most things, there's good and bad. Maybe, and again, we haven't really said the name of this episode was the Tribes of Tatooine. And, there's good tribes, there's bad tribes. Maybe the ones that Anakin killed, that kidnapped Shmi, those were the bad ones. They were really perhaps evil, whereas, you can't, based on what we've seen so far with this group, you can't quite see them doing what they did to Shmi, leaving her chained up to a trussed up like that, like they did. But I thought it was interesting just kind of get a little bit more lore as far as what, that they're not just these crazed animalistic type of humanoids, that are just out for blood, like
they're not just sand people. They have their own culture and traditions. And a lot of that brutality, it seems like that both episodes imply come out of the struggle for survival in a harsh environment. like they were using slave labor by enslaving Boba and the Rodian in the
Right,
previous
they were.
episode.
Absolutely.
Just like Shmi was kidnapped and enslaved
Mhm.
by the other tribe.
Yeah.
But once Boba was able to prove his value to them on a different level, then his whole relationship with them changes.
Mhm.
And they recognize that he can contribute to survival in a different way as a respected member of their culture.
Right.
And
Exactly.
one thing that I do want to say about the gaffy stick sequence, well, when they clad him in the Tuscan robes, it gave a whole new depth to the costuming, and the costume
Yeah.
design. They were doing it so reverently, with such respect.
Right.
And then he
exactly.
comes out and the little child comes up to him and is like touching it, like these are the adult warrior robes, like this is
Yeah.
something that's very special.
Yeah, he was really looked almost starstruck at that point.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
look at this.
Whereas
He's like,
he had
"That's
been
good."
treating him as less than dirt, at the beginning
Yeah.
of the previous episode. But
Yeah.
when they go to make the gaffy stick, this is something that Greedo pointed out when we were messaging about this after the episode. He goes out to the workshop where they're going to make the stick, and you get that incredible shot where the Tuscan warrior woman comes up to him with the branch, and she's standing there in front of the workshop, which is based on a Ralph McQuarrie drawing
Yes.
of the Tuscan
And I did not
Raiders.
catch that until he sent that to me.
It is
Yeah,
a perfect replica of that
that is
beautiful
amazing.
painting, by Ralph McQuarrie.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I never would have picked up on that either. Maybe
Absolutely
you can
not.
drop
Yep.
an image of it in the video.
I will. Yeah,
the
definitely.
show, but it was just it evoked the beauty of Ralph McQuarrie's designs, from
Oh yeah.
the original
It's
trilogy.
phenomenal.
And then that was just followed up with that beautiful montage of making the stick, which was extended, and it was very fascinating, where you saw all the different parts that they put together. And again, the respect and the pride that Tamir Morrison gave to the character as he was engaging in this, and being guided to do it. And then to end with the warrior dance, that to me was just the perfect ending. It kind of just brought everything together that he had learned. All of the themes of the episode, uniting fierceness and fighting with honor, respect, and community. And again, the tribute to his own Maori heritage with the fight dance was beautiful.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, exactly.
I was just my heart was pumping at the end of the episode. This is just a really fine episode. That was very
it was really well done. So speaking of that, since we've kind of wrapped up what basically happened in the episode, what's your rating for this episode on our 10-star scale?
Well, my rating originally was gonna be a 9. And then I started thinking, I remember Greedo warning us back when we were ranking the Mandalorian episodes, save your 9 and 10s for what's going to come. So I think I'm going to put it in 8.5.
Okay.
And we talked to Greedo about his ranking too before this episode, even though he couldn't join us today. And he was an 8.5 too, which is amazing.
Which is huge for him. That's
Captain Negative. I really wish Captain Negative could have been here with us to explain his 8.5 rating of only the second episode of this series. Okay. Like, maybe he can talk to us about it next week when he joins us for the third episode. But 8.5, this is historic. 8.5 for only a second episode from Greedo. And I agree with him.
That's unheard of. Yeah.
What's your rank?
For me, I'm going 7.5. So I really, again, thoroughly enjoyed the episode. Loved it. Just looking forward to more on the current timeline to really see where they take it. But I have loved the Tuscan lore that we've gotten. And all the flashbacks have been amazing. So really strong episode.
The only reason I don't rank it all the way up to a 10 is I enjoyed it so much is that I feel like the present that there's still some little bit of disjoint between the present day and the flashback. And I feel like the present day timeline is going maybe a little too slowly.
Mhm.
So, because we only got what 4 episodes left now, or 5.
Five
Episodes, yeah.
Mhm.
So I'd like to see a little bit more going in the present day.
Yeah, I
but-
mean, I'm kind of guessing that maybe they're going to start flipping it now that we've gotten most of that
Yeah.
story, of the backstory to where he's now part of the tribe. Maybe next episode, say if it's 55 minutes long, like the last episode, maybe it'll be more like 80% the current timeline, 20%, flashback. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the series and to see where they take it, and to see what other cameos we get, because I have a feeling we're going to probably get some big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Delighted
Ready-
overall. Excited for more Star Wars television.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
very, very enjoyable.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Any other final thoughts?
That's it. I'm looking forward to episode 3 and to
Yeah.
the rest of this season. And I'm
Absolutely.
hoping now this has been so good. I'm really looking forward to the Obi-Wan series set on Tatooine as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's what most Star Wars fans are looking most eagerly towards this year's the Obi-Wan series. So, all right. Well, those are our thoughts and what we're looking forward to for next time. But we'll be back next week with another wrap up of this of the episode 3. And until then, just give us a like, leave us comments down below, subscribe to the channel, and click the little bell icon so you can get alerts when we do post these new episodes. And until then, we'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Oh, say something again.
Ready.
Okay. Oh, wow. Because when you said ready last time, literally like there was nothing.
I am ready.
I was like, oh crap, her mic just cut out.
Oh, no.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 recap. Oh, well, or not. And cut.
We went to the Rodian to enter in a dramatic
Oh,
way.
yeah, we have a Rodian entering our midst. You've all learned you can't trust those. Yeah, you think traders are bad. Try trusting a Rodian.